Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're going to be reviewing the Big Finish audio story, The Horror of Glam Rock. And yes, you heard me correctly, The Horror of Glam Rock. I know. Before we start off on the actual story, I have to mention once again, because I mentioned this in another video not long ago, that I never like when Doctor Who comes up with a title that's a pun on another title, if pun is the right word, where they're doing a little nod and wink to the audience, because obviously it's a nod and a wink to Horror of Fang Rock. I never like when titles do that. It's just a pet peeve I have. I find it a bit eye-rolling and a bit lazy, honestly. Even if the story it's in is good, the last story I reviewed, which was actually a fan story, is a good story, a very enjoyable horror story, but the title of the story being, again, a nod and a wink to another Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who story, had me going, really? And so, immediately with Horror of Glam Rock, immediately I was a bit put off there just because of the title, and I was like, okay. But it was a Patreon request, so I said, I'll give it a listen. It's always nice to hear a little more McGann. Now, the actual story, I realized very early on when I started hearing this kind of older character. I think his name is like Anthony or something like that, and he starts talking. And I listen to him talk, and it takes like 2 seconds. I'm sitting here going, that sounds just like Bernard Cribbins. And it does. It sounds just like Bernard Cribbins. It's not even, it sounds kind of like, I'm sitting here in my head going, that's got to be Bernard Cribbins. So immediately I'm stopping. I'm going online, because I'm listening to this digitally anyway. I'm going online. I'm looking it up. And sure enough, it's Bernard Cribbins. This story came out in 2006. So I guess it would have been before he even showed up in the modern show. But yes, Bernard Cribbins is voicing this character in the story. That's immediately giving it points in its favors. I love me some Bernard Cribbins. He's awesome. And he's good in this story as well. He gives a really good performance. This was another one where I was kind of drifting, but not completely. There were a couple times where I had to back up the audio. Because a lot of times if I'm just listening to something I've gotten just digitally on the computer, a lot of times I'll be surfing the computer. It's a lot easier for me to lock in with a physical media release. Although I struggle with some of those too. Doom Coalition's been kind of hit or miss. But if I'm listening to it digitally and I've got my computer in front of me, half the time I just want to be surfing on the computer. And it's not that this one is bad. It's just a bit meh to me. You have these creatures that have gotten out, these creatures that got out through sound, because somebody's listening to some instrument that I don't even know what the heck it was, because not quite sure what's going on with this guy, Tom or Tommy or whatever. He's a little out of it. And the Doctor's in 1974, thus the kind of glam rock era. I don't really think of that as the glam rock era, but sure. And the 8th Doctor's with Lucy, which is great to have both of them back. Paul and the actress who does Lucy, they're putting in a good performance. People have gotten killed. Somebody got killed at the beginning of it. Monsters are tearing people to shreds. And the Doctor's got to solve it. Now, this story is probably about 48 minutes long, so it's not like too long. It's about the length of a standard modern Doctor Who episode. It feels shorter. Again, maybe it's just because I'm remembering more of the cliff notes of it. There is a part where, of course, several characters not several, but a few characters get killed. And you think Bernard Cribbins' character gets killed because he's already been kind of injured. He doesn't think he's going to make it. So he's kind of holding them off to give them time to kind of get away for a little bit to set up a trap. And he's like, don't you know who you're dealing with? And it's really weird because toward the end of the story, he just randomly shows back up. No, it's all right. I'm still alive. Here's what you needed, Doctor. Because the Doctor thought they had grabbed whatever that weird instrument or box is, and he hadn't. And somehow Bernard Cribbins' character, Anthony or whatever his name is, just happened to have it and toss it to him. And I'm like, how are you alive? You're not even young. Like, how did you... what? Because, like, they already shredded you and hurt your leg once. You didn't think you were going to make it. And then they attacked you again, and then they were just kind of like slash. I don't... It's kind of the... You know, have you ever seen that in, like, a horror movie or something where somebody should have died and somehow they don't? And you're just like... My willing suspension of disbelief is looking at it going, I mean, don't get me wrong. It gets a little bit of a pass because it's Bernard Cribbins, and I like getting more Bernard Cribbins. And then Lucy meets her aunt, who, of course, Lucy hasn't been born yet this time, and her aunt's younger. And they don't really do a lot with that, to be honest. It's just kind of a thing that happens. And that's really about it. After the doctor manages to trap the creatures in Lucy's, like, MP3 player, and he's like, don't ever play that track. Yeah, no kidding. They leave, and then somebody else shows up looking for them, but just... it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't really good. It just wasn't that interesting. I am convinced that this is a story where they had the title of the story before they actually had the story. It's like somebody came up with a little punny title for Horror of Fang Rock just on a whim. It was probably a shower thought. They were probably having a shower, and they went Horror of Fang Rock, Horror of Glam Rock, ha ha ha. And they were like, ha 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 ha, I'm funny, ha 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 ha. One of my clever shower thoughts. And then they wrote a story around that. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like they wrote a story and then gave it a punny title. It's like they came up with the punny title and then wrote a story around that because they thought they were clever. And again, it's not a bad story. Bernard Cribbins is great in it. I mean, it's just... Like, it's not one of those stories that was, like, even that much of a struggle to get through. It wasn't one of those where I was like, oh, God, is it over yet? It wasn't that. It wasn't one of those where I'm like, I've got to listen to this again one day. I don't really have to. I might, again, Bernard Cribbins, I might. But it's just kind of, have you ever had one of those Doctor Who stories? It's just kind of there. It's not bad. It's not really good. It exists. And again, not bad. It's not like Kill the Moon, which is just bad. Bad. Empire of Death. Bad. Minute in Hell, or however you say it. Bad. It's not that. It's just, it's there. It exists. And that's kind of my thoughts on it. Nowhere near the amazing glory that Horror of Fang Rock is, of course. Like I said, somebody thought they were clever. They came up with a name and said, I have to show that to the world. So they wrote some kind of story about it. That story works. It's just not very interesting. It feels like a first draft. It doesn't feel complete somehow. They should have done more with maybe Lucy or Patton. Maybe there was more in there I just missed because it wasn't gripping me enough. I don't think so, though. I remember them talking, and her Aunt Pat's like, so what am I? And Lucy's just like, nothing. Nothing? Yeah, nothing. It's not something I have to revisit anytime soon. Again, that one was more, one of my patrons had really been wanting me to listen to it for a while. And, of course, certain tiers of the Patreon do get patron requests. Which, I consider a request to be just that, a request. If it's something I just adamantly don't want to do, I'll say, can you pick something else? But typically, if somebody gives a request, unless I'm just adamantly against it, I'll certainly do it. And the Horror of Glam Rock, it could have been good. It's the 8th Doctor. I like the 8th Doctor. As much as I hate those kind of punny titles, those wink and nod titles to other Doctor Who titles, I figured I'd give it a shot. And again, it was less than an hour, so it's not like it took up a lot of my time. But, and I'm glad at least it wasn't bad. It was, again, I don't feel like I wasted those minutes of my life. It's just boring, honestly. It's a bit boring and uninteresting. And I feel like in the hands, I don't even know who wrote it, but in the hands of someone who was a better writer, or more if just that particular writer, if they're usually a better writer, was more on their A game, I feel like it could have been done better, if that makes sense. So the Horror of Glam Rock, it exists. It is a thing that happened. What do you think of it? Comment down below and let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I do have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. There's a link to that down there in the description. I also want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons: Unknown289, Colin Coney, Androzani Major, and Perkins. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you would like to send me to look at and review. Love getting fan mail, I do. I also have a link to the Amazon wish list and the Amazon UK wish list down there as well. Most importantly, thank you for watching.